Man, people do scream at the top of their lungs. I counted 9 jump scares. I would have legit quit from the get-go. That's basically a cute little bedtime horror story, if you ask me. Okay, today we're going to discuss the Conjuring Lost Rites, the 4th installment in the Conjuring franchise. And I'm not counting the spin-offs like Annabelle, Nun, or etc. Just a friendly heads up, as always, spoilers coming your way from all directions. Might want to take some precautions if you haven't seen the movie yet. Ladies and gentlemen and horror aficionados, my name is Bouquet and welcome to my horror corner, Bouquetified. So for about 3 weeks ago, I bought 2 tickets for the Conjuring Lost Rites. One for myself and one for my husband. For the record, he doesn't like horror movies. He doesn't really enjoy them, and you can see it on his face. In most of the scenes, he closes his eyes and is trying to avoid all the jump scares and so on and so forth. So I had to ask him, "You sure? You don't have to come, you know?" To that he said, "I'm gonna accompany you, no questions. I don't want to imagine you sitting there all alone. It's just sad." I told him it isn't sad, and it is perfectly normal. Especially knowing that he doesn't really like horror movies, I could just buy 1 ticket, you know? But I couldn't convince him, so I got 2 tickets. But then I had to tell him, if you'd like to watch this one with me, then you first need to watch the other 3 Conjuring movies. And I offered him to watch them together. Deal? Deal. The next day we watched the first Conjuring movie during the daylight hours. He handled it really well. To my surprise, he actually enjoyed it. And we even had a good discussion afterwards. But when we tried watching the second movie the following day, he couldn't get into it. I knew it. He was too distracted by the jump scares and they really bothered him. His eyes were closed the whole time and his face was like, It didn't make any sense to continue watching. So I ended up stopping the movie because he was not enjoying it one bit. If people don't like horror movies, you just should not force them into watching horror movies, and you definitely shouldn't make fun of them. That day I cancelled all our tickets and I got myself a new one just for me. Done deal, I'm going on my own. Fine. I haven't done solo cinema trips many times, but it's actually quite cool, you know. As a matter of fact, I really enjoyed the experience. The only downside is you can't talk about the instant comments that you'd like to share with somebody, but that can wait until the movie ends, right? Anyway, the cinema was full. Everybody was there. First, I wasn't sure if it was the real horror audience or just some good timers, but not long after I realized it was the latter. Goodness gracious. Man, people do scream at the top of their lungs, don't they? I counted 9 jump scares, thanks to them. And seriously, I had no intention of counting them, not to mention temporary deafness in between the scares, you know? I was very annoyed for the first 4 times, but then it did not matter anymore. It must be very rewarding from the perspective of the movie makers, but from the perspective of a horror lover, it was a bit much. But does that mean there was nothing for me at all? No, there was one scene that was pretty bad. One. Anyway, for me the most tense moment was when the mirror spinning got out of control. While it was happening, I had a million scenarios racing through my mind. Oh, this is gonna be bad. It's going to end up on someone's neck. Will it be Ed? Lorraine? Whose neck is going? But funnily enough, nobody important ever dies in Conjuring movies. I like that scene for multiple reasons, and let me explain why. When an object spins faster and faster, we expect it to cause massive damage when it hits something, right? But this is paranormally controlled object. I'm talking about the mirror. It could very well store all that kinetic energy, pause, then release it with devastating force and velocity. So there's simply no conventional physics at work here. Anything becomes possible and the sky is the limit to your imagination and comprehension and perception and all of that jazz. And if it isn't just my imagination, from what I remember, I really like the sound effects during the spinning as well. Because when it stopped, this moment was incredibly effective. There was a moment of silence, which I love, where we waited anxiously for what might happen next. The silence and anticipation is everything in horror. And that's exactly why it remained terrifying to me even after it stopped, because I couldn't predict what would happen next. I think I got a little ahead of myself and jumped straight to the last 10 minutes before covering the more essential parts. My excitement got the better of me. Let's rewind and chat about the main story now. The synopsis of the movie is that Ed and Lorraine Warren have their unfinished first business come back to haunt them, and years later they close the cycle by solving it, this time also with their daughter's help. Our paranormal couple is always at the heart of everything. But here's a surprise. Instead of just giving us another spooky case in the Lost Rites like I expected, they take us back to the Warrens' very first investigation within the first 10 minutes of the movie. And to be very honest with you, if I had experienced what they went through after their first case, I would have legit quit from the get-go. No way I'd turn that nightmare into a career. Look, you go and try to help your first client and your unborn baby is almost toast. And this was their starting point? How in the world did they look at this disaster and think, yeah, you know what, let's keep doing this for a living? Living? Not gonna lie there, they hooked me within the first 10 minutes. Like, I'm not trying to judge anyone's life choices here. Or maybe I am a bit. But this movie's whole full circle thing is just way too perfect, you know? That I couldn't help but question every second of it about how much actually happened versus what's been dramatized. Just think about it. You begin your demonology career with one particular case, then years later, when you're about to retire, that very same unfinished business finds its way back to you. And the best part? You resolve it with the assistance from your now adult daughter, who nearly died because of that very first case. The mirror. It's an undeniably neat and tidy conclusion to wrap up your paranormal career. What a lovely way to bring closure to your lifelong passion for helping others deal with the supernatural. I mean, if you're going to have a final chapter in your ghost-busting story, this is definitely the picture-perfect ending. And supposedly, they all lived happily ever after. Right. That sounds like real life. That's a very nice fairy tale of a horror story. As I binged all the Conjuring movies over the last few weeks, honestly I totally got hooked on the characters. Like, I'm talking about Ed and Lorraine Warren, obviously. It's kind of like when you follow someone on social media and start feeling like you know them. Like parasocial relations or illusions of being friends with them. A bit like that. Throughout the franchise, we've always gotten glimpses into Ed and Lorraine's lives, but this final installment delves much deeper into their personal world. Honestly, I didn't mind watching their family drama, seeing their daughter introducing her boyfriend to them and the usual introduction period, so on and so forth. I get it, people wanted to see mostly horror stuff, but I think it's actually valuable to see who Ed and Lorraine Warren were in their natural habitat. At least as much as the movie tells us about them. And by the way, I really don't believe the movie depicted the real life Ed and Lorraine Warren with complete accuracy. Definitely not. But that's a topic for another video, probably. But I've always wondered how on earth could they continue living with this extremely dangerous lifestyle while being parents to a young child. That child, as we all know, has been threatened and used to scare them away already in the first movie. And this has happened multiple times. They deliberately chose to carry on with their business. You could literally die in each case. So how can you raise a healthy child with this kind of lifestyle? It's either they don't care about their kid or there really was no risk. You know what I mean? They might have been faking it, you know? Were they faking it the whole time? Who knows? Do you believe all that happened? Well, of course, I believe the answer is no, because I also don't believe. But it's a horror movie after all, and I love horror movies. So still I find myself wondering, were there actually evil spirits? Or was it just a scam taking advantage of vulnerable people? I guess we'll never know, but the whole thing is just simply too paranormal for me to fully accept. That I know. To be very honest with you, I'm way more afraid of real people and their actions than ghosts, spirits, and unidentified objects and so on. I haven't really had the chance yet to investigate how much truth is behind the other Conjuring films, but okay, these are movies after all, and they probably sprinkle in some Hollywood magic to make everything more exciting for the big screen. Understandably so. Obviously, some things were modified to keep people coming back and interested. Actual events can be pretty boring to watch sometimes. Like, not exactly edge of your seat material, right? Naturally, they jazz things up a bit to keep us all coming back for more. But this latest installment, it was a little too Hollywood. It's just too perfect, like suspiciously perfect. Based on a true story, if you buy it. Since this film claims to be based on a true story, I've done some research and here's what I found. Are you ready? Let's go. So Jack and Janice Smurl moved into a cute duplex in West Pittston, Pennsylvania in 1973, and they lived there with their 4 daughters, plus Jack's parents stayed in the other half of the Duplex. Cozy family setup, right? At first they noticed some little quirks around the house, stains showing up on the walls, funky smells, and appliances going haywire. But apparently things took a scarier turn when they started experiencing what felt like physical encounters. Jack and Janet shared how they were scratched, bitten, and even pushed around by something they couldn't see. Yeah, that must be annoying. And the things got even more intense with reports of sexual assault. Both said they were attacked by an invisible presence. They also mentioned seeing shadowy figures and hearing all sorts of loud bangs throughout the house. And unfortunately their family dog, always the family dog, wasn't spared from any of these creepiness either. Back then the case got tons of coverage in newspapers and even inspired a 1991 TV movie called The Haunted. I'm definitely adding that to my watch list. The Smurl family still stands by their story to this day. Can you imagine? Karen has shared in interviews that anyone suggesting that they made it up for money or fame is just being ridiculous. And if you remember, we saw something similar in the movie too. I remember Janet, I think it was Janet, saying something like, there are 8 people living in this house and 8 people can't be crazy, which is a pretty fair point. They also said that all the public attention and the media coverage actually made their already scary and stressful situation even harder to deal with, which is understandable. So of course, skeptics argued the case was fabricated and exaggerated for the financial gain, especially since the family's claims intensified after media attention grew. Paul Kurtz, a skeptic and philosopher, mentioned that the case likely involved exaggeration or psychological, neurological issues, and he also suggested psychiatric evaluation of the family. One detail worth noting, Jack Smurl reportedly suffered from short-term memory loss due to meningitis earlier in his life and underwent a surgery to remove fluid from his brain. Yeah, this medical history could potentially have complicated his perceptions or recollections of events in the house. Some researchers suggest that these medical factors could have contributed to his experience in the house, as neurological conditions sometimes manifest in ways that include sensory disturbance or misinterpretations of ordinary phenomena. However, this medical context alone doesn't fully explain the experiences reported by multiple family members across different time periods. As for the Warrens' side of the story, they identified 4 spirits in the Smurl home. 3 were benign and 1 was a powerful demonic presence. I assume that one was the hands-on one. You know. Okay. Anyways, they believe the haunting was real. Ed claimed to have witnessed temperature drops and objects moving on their own. Apparently, this stands as one of the Warrens' darkest cases, featuring a combination of haunting, possession, and demonic assault. Apparently, after years of creepy stuff going on, the local church folks plus Ed and Lorraine Warren said that the prayers, exorcisms, and spiritual hocus pocus helped out. And around 1988, the family moved out of the house and later residents reported no paranormal activity. The Smurls have mentioned that while things calmed down a bit, the creepy vibes never completely vanished. So, what do you think? Did these events really happen? Have you ever encountered anything paranormal or supernatural yourself? Or even a better question, do you think it is really going to be the last Conjuring movie? Anyway, I give the Conjuring Lost Rites 3.5 skulls out of 5. Have you seen the movie? What did you think about it? What's your rating? Let me know in the comments down below, please. October is just around the corner. In fact, you might be seeing this video in October as well. We can enjoy more spookiness during this month. I don't know about you, but this is my favorite month of the year. We can watch so many horror movies. We can do so many horror things. The weather is getting worse and worse. It will rain all the time. It will be dark all the time. We will get into depression at some point, somewhere towards January. All the lovely things. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And please share it with your horror fan friends to help our horror community grow. Up next, we'll dive into the world of Stephen King's It. I genuinely cannot wait to begin the series. So please don't miss it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Is it just me or is there like a crazy look-alike situation going on between Vera Farmiga, Patricia Arquette and Gillian Flynn? I swear these ladies could be triplets or something. Especially when you put Patricia and Vera side by side like that. Like, how am I supposed to tell them apart? It's freaky. Anyway,